In the last session then, we looked at the performance model and how our current performance is affected by the interferences that we allow to get in the way. That reduces our potential. We also learned that in the main, those interferences tend to show up as below the line. It's really important to recognise those interferences then and move them out of the way, because by moving them out of the way, we get closer to our potential. This is going to show up for you and it's going to show up for your team. And as we grow in the business, it's really important to consider what those interferences are and how they might change. So in this session, I want to talk to you about choosing your position. And as I say, this is as relevant for your team as it is for you. So what do I mean by that? Let's have a look at the entrepreneurial ladder. Now, the first thing to realise is, what do the rungs on this ladder represent? And the answer to that is really comfort zones. You see, we all fall into the comfort zone of the step on the ladder we've decided to be in, potentially. Or maybe we anchor ourselves to a previous comfort zone, and that might show up as an interference. Let's get definitionally clear then. At the base level here is an employee. So what is an employee? Well, first of all, they trade time for money to earn a defined amount of money for a defined amount of hours. Employees come to learn a set of skills. So they've got a different relationship with money to every other rung on this ladder, and they're usually developing the skills for their particular trade or profession. Now, at some point, some of us decide to have what Michael Gerber calls an entrepreneurial seizure. That entrepreneurial seizure shows up in the form of, I've had enough of working for this idiot, I'm going to go and work for myself. Now, at that point in time, if you think about the belief that must be associated with that step, we must have a fairly high level of conviction that we're up there amongst the best at doing something. It'd be pretty daft, wouldn't it, to go, I'm sort of average at this, or I'm not very good at this, but I know I'll go and start a business for myself doing this thing. So this belief of I'm up there amongst the best is a really healthy belief to have as we make that jump into self-employed. At the self-employed level, we still trade time for money, yet we make money instead of earn money. So pretty much if we don't show up, we don't make money anymore. And that's great. But if we start to think about growing a business, and remember the definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that can work without you, then that mindset of I'm up there amongst the best may start to become a significant interference. Let's think about the next level up then. Managers. What do managers do? Well, we're going to talk more about that as we dig into that in greater depth in the subsequent sessions. But ostensibly what managers do is create leverage. They start to make the organisation work by putting processes in place that other people can follow. In other words, we divide to multiply, divide the roles of the organisation to multiply the capability through different specialists. Now, why do most people become managers? If you make an employee a manager, it's normally because, guess what? They're pretty much the best at what they do in that function. So it's a very similar mindset to that of self-employed again. It'd be very easy to hang on to that mindset of I'm the best at this and therefore I'll put on my Superman cape, put my trousers and pants on the outside of my trousers and go flying in to solve every problem. Now, if you think about it, there's not much leverage in that. So as we move up to that manager level, we have to develop a new comfort zone, and that is to hang the cape back up and start thinking about how we create that leverage amongst other people in the team, make them as good as us, if not better than us in some cases, and maybe hire people better than us. Isn't that an interesting mindset, to commit ego-side and realise that there might be somebody out there better at doing something than we are? So management is a very, very different mindset. And if we hang on to that best at mindset, then we're going to hamper our performance significantly. So managers are all about creating leverage. They're still trading time for money because they've probably still got some operational involvement at one level or another, but they're starting to get leverage through other people. So we'll unpack that in greater detail in later sessions. The next level up then, business owner. Well, what's that about? Well, if you think about the definition of a business, a commercial, profitable enterprise that can work without you, well, why is that? Well, how do business owners get paid? In the most part, they get paid through dividends. Now, what's the correlation between dividends and time? Well, there isn't one, is there? Because you see, if you think about it, if you went and bought some shares in a FTSE listed company, what would you do apart from buy the shares? Nothing. You don't have to go and trade any hours to get your dividends from that company every year. You just get the dividends. So at this point, when the business can work without you, there is no time correlation between what you're doing or not doing and the amount of money that you can make. Now, the interesting thing here is if we hang on to a previous comfort zone of being the best at, I can pretty much guarantee that if you're doing the work of an employee, then you'll probably be getting pretty much paid like an employee. We have to dissociate ourselves from those lower value activities, because those lower value activities are higher value activities for other people in your business. Ask yourself, how many hours a week are you actually sitting in the MD's chair of your business? Because the MD is the person who's responsible for making that business work. As the MD, you report to the next level up, which is the investor. You are probably the shareholder of your business. Now, how do shareholders make decisions? They make decisions based on the profit and loss and balance sheet and the performance of that business to decide whether to remain invested or divest. In other words, they put their money in to achieve leverage. Somebody else goes and builds their money and gives them a return on their investment without them having to do anything. At the moment, you're wearing both hats in your business, and maybe other hats too. The last level on this ladder is entrepreneur. Now, most of us call ourselves entrepreneurs when we start our business, but in reality, we're not. It's an entrepreneurial seizure, and then most of us go back to being technicians fairly quickly. So what are entrepreneurs? Well, they make money using other people's money. That's not the focus of these sessions. I'm more focused on getting you up to that business owner level and starting to think like a business owner. So let's focus on that a little bit more. Let's look at what we call a cycle of business. When I look at most business owners, they've actually got too many focuses. I want to separate that out so you could start thinking about a cause and effect cycle. And for me, the cycle of business is a beautiful cause and effect cycle. So the owner looks after the team. Now, this is why I've started with you and your mindset, because our thoughts create our actions and our actions create our results. So if I get your thought processes into a healthy place, then you'll probably be able to get your team's thought processes into a healthy place too. And therefore, that will cause greater behaviour in your team. When we align and engage that team and wrap them a set of processes around them, then they can look after the customers properly. And the customers then look after the business, and the business looks after you. So if you look at it, if something isn't working properly as you would like it to, if the business isn't looking after you as you would like it to, then we have to look at what's causing that. And that's normally the behaviour of the customers. Do we have the right customers, and did we educate them in the right way? Because it's my belief that we train our customers and our team and our suppliers how we expect them to behave. Expect what you accept. If the customers aren't behaving in the right way and we aren't attracting the right customers, then we have to look to the team. What are the team doing to cause that? Is it that our processes aren't clear enough? Is it that we're not clear enough on our ideal client? Are we being consistent about how we educate our clients? If that's not working as we need it to, then guess what? The only place to look is in the mirror, because who's the MD of your business? So we can always go forwards and backwards around this cycle of business to contemplate what's actually causing this. As I say, most people look at the effects and go around running around their business sticking plasters on stuff. What I'm urging you to do is think of the cause and go back to what's causing this. Let's stop the cut. Less plasters are required. So when we think about this, what I really want you to do is evaluate, where are you sitting on that ladder at the moment? What are the interferences that are showing up? Do you still perceive yourself as the Superman in your business? Are you noticing that in your managers too? Obviously, there's an environment to create to help managers manage, to help you be a business owner. And that's what we'll talk about in subsequent sessions. But we have to move as many interferences out of the way as possible. And that starts with thought processes. So if you or your managers are still showing up with Superman syndrome, yes, of course, that's best intentioned, but probably isn't going to lead you to a business that can work without you, and isn't going to help them become great managers because they're not creating the leverage that we need in the business. So go and evaluate your position. How much time are you spending sitting in the MD's chair, or are you buried in the operational work of your business? Does the amount of money you're making from your business reflect the activity that you're doing? Because normally it does. And think about your team and how they're showing up. What are the interferences that are getting in the way of them helping you to achieve better performance in your team? When we get clear on this, we'll start to identify those interferences and be able to move them out of the way. In the next sessions, we'll talk about how to create the environment for that. So we're going to create a complete picture to build towards that commercial profitable enterprise that can work without you.